As they're coming up, I'll just give you a little bio on some of them. You all know Jon Jensen, the current chairman. He's been chairman for 2 years of the National Association, which is highly unusual because you usually serve one year. We can't wait till his term is over tomorrow. And Jon is the CEO of Corel Insurance in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. He is the new chairman of the Trusted Choice Board that started on September 1. He was a former Government Affairs Committee chairman and has just done a fabulous job during COVID in the last 2 years. You have in the middle Alex Soto. Alex is our resident historian. He is a true student of U.S. history and Cuban history. He was chairman in 2006. He's considered the godfather of trusted choice. He is a great communicator. I call him the Ronald Reagan of the Big I. So Alex is with us tonight. And then Jeff Yates, one of my mentors at the Big I. Jeff Yates is the former CEO of the Big I. He served from 1981 till 2000, I believe, as CEO. He is the third longest CEO in Big I history since 1896. We named our highest non-agent award for Jeff, the Jeff Yates Lifetime Achievement Award, which will be given out tomorrow at our board meeting. And then I asked him when he retired to come back and be the executive director of the Agents Council on Technology, which he graciously did. So he's now retired and living in Montana. So welcome our panel. So the first question I have for you all, and this is going to be short, literally and figuratively. What are a couple of the most important achievements, in your opinion, that the Big I has accomplished over 125 years? I'll start with you first, Alejandro.
Well, I think that that if you look at the entire history, the arc of 125 years, you've got to go back and land at the Yonkers case in 1903. Because that case defined the issue that we, the independent agents, are the owners of the expiration. And in 2 minutes, because he's controlling the time, I'll tell you the story very quickly. In Yonkers, New York, 1903, an agent sells his agency to another agent. And everything is going fine until one of the insurance company partners decides to inform that buying agent that they're not going to give him an assignment, they are not going to appoint him, and they're going to court to establish that the company owns the expirations and demands that that agency turn over all the list of the expirations, the dailies, and any information, and gets an injunction to stop that agency from moving those clients. That agent gets in touch with the National Association, with Claudius Woodworth, the eponymous name of our award that we give, and he marshals the agents. This is a fledgling organization of only 7 years, but this is a fight worth fighting. And they fund it, and they direct the case, and on an appellate level, we win. And it establishes that we own our own expiration, and it gives us an opportunity to create wealth. And they saw that generations later, we would be the recipients of this wonderful win. And 6 generations later, we are here enjoying the fruits and being able to create wealth for our families, because it established that the companies are our partners and they get their relationships through us. But these are our clients.
Exactly. So, Jon Jensen is chairman of the World Federation of Insurance Intermediaries. I call him the emperor of the broker world, which is true. He's the top guy in the world. And Jon, we know what distinguishes us in the world is the ownership of our book of business, of our expirations, because there are brokers in every country in the world, but they don't own their book of business.
Right.
And that distinguishes us. Jon, what do you think the biggest accomplishments of the Big I are?
Well, first, Bob, I need to step back a minute, because so Bob did call me and say, Jon, you know, we're going to put together a short panel, and you and Alex are the perfect guys. Right? I mean, come on. You know, so,
True.
You know, there's so many things, Bob, but I think one of the things that I'm most proud of that this association has done is a recent thing, and that's during the pandemic. You know, we established the COVID-19 Relief Fund for our members, and there was agencies that were struggling. We all had our doors closed, right? And we were struggling through that and didn't know what to do and where to go and what would come next. And we established the Relief Fund. And there were so many of our agency members that came to us and said, we need help. Our associates in our offices need help. My husband's been fired. We don't have health insurance. You know, things of that sort. And we dispersed almost $2 million. $2 million to our members, to those folks that we needed. We supported them. You know, we did tons of other things with the website and helping with, you know, what do we do now to work remotely? All those things that quite frankly, had we not been there, we would have lost a lot of members. There would have been a lot of individuals and a lot of families that would have been in total crisis because we weren't there. So to me, I mean, the fact that we were there for our folks, our family, that just says tons.
Well said. I am, before I ask Jeff to opine on that, I'm going to ask former President Chairman Bud Wilson, what do you think is the biggest achievement other than you being a big guy, Bud?
Well, obviously, the finest hour was hiring you, Bob.
Well played, Bud.
You remembered what I told you to say. Bud. So Jeff Yates, you are a resident historian. You're walking history. What do you think are the great achievements of this association?
Well, first of all, let me just make the point on the ownership of expirations. We won the lawsuit, but then we had a very active agency contracts committee that went to all the insurance companies and established not only the language in the contracts that protected it, but also indemnification provisions, better protection in terms of changing commissions, terminations, and things like that. Josiah Welch, many of you probably remember him from Massachusetts, was kind of one of the driving chairmen of that. But I do remember going around. But okay, as I looked at this, okay, let's talk about the banks and insurance issue. Banks trying to get into the insurance agency business. That was, you know, Bob calls it the 100-year war. When I came to the association in 1975, that battle was raging, and there was, you know, significant money spent on litigation. The federal regulators and the banks were trying to get loopholes to get in the insurance agency business. And there was also the legislative thing. And it wasn't until the 1990s that it was finally resolved. And the significance of that issue is that's when the agents realized that having a very strong professional government affairs operation was absolutely crucial to the association. And, you know, we actually had a Washington office starting in 1934. So we had one for a long time. But it really is, I think the legacy of the banks and insurance issue is it really helped establish the strength of our government affairs operation. We developed the grassroots capability of the agents at that point. And, you know, one of the real strengths of the Big I is the state associations. And it was, you know, the states and national together. And then InsurePAC, it was then called NAPAC at the beginning. InsurePAC started there. But if I could just go a little bit further, that's one of the key things. The E&O insurance program is another example of the, you know, this program probably touches more agents, all the loss control it's done, all the agents that have been protected over the years, the stability of that program. That's an extremely important thing as well that the association has done in partnership with the states. And we have a very active E&O committee and, you know, for-profit board, and those guys really make sure it's agent-oriented. But as I look at it, the biggest accomplishment, I think, since I've been involved and I know afterwards, what the biggest accomplishment in my judgment is the agent leadership that we have had that has been continually focused on how do we make the agents more successful? How do we make it more efficient for agents to deal with multiple companies? And let me just give you a few examples. First of all, many people don't know that the Accord standard forms that every one of your employees uses every day in their agency, that originated as a committee of the California Big I, which then became a national association program, and then it became an all-industry program. And that has progressed with electronic standards and so forth since then, and now we have the Agents Council for Technology, which again is agents and carriers working together to try to make it more efficient for you guys to be able to work with technology. And thank God, progress has been made in that area during this pandemic so that people can work remotely.
Jeff, I'm going to have to move on.
All right, sorry.
But thank you. When you said God,
And there's many other things. That was just one thing over time that happened. You got the best practices study,
Right.
you got the agency universe, you got all these things that have been done, including the advertising.
all awesome stuff. And we had the 100-year wars with the banks, and then we decided to start a bank called Insure Bank. Here's the CEO of the bank right here. If you need a loan, see this guy right after dinner. Ron Smith, what do you think what they all said? Ron Smith, Indiana, former chairman of the Big I, trusted choice guy. What do you think is the biggest accomplishment?
The fact that we're all still here is one thing, but I still think lobbying for us is a real effective program. We've done it extremely well. We have been able to play the entire spectrum in the industry for companies and for agents alike. So we are welcome in anyone's door because they believe what we say and they listen to what we do. So we have great staff that runs that program, and it has been highly successful forever, this guy being the main component.
These guys don't know I'm calling on them, so they're just making this stuff up as they go along. Mr. Soto.
Yes, sir.
Back in 1896, as the resident historian, when you were having lunch with President McKinley,
Yeah.
what was going on in the United States of America when this association was formed in 1896?
Yeah. McKinley did get elected in 1896, and it did not go well for him. He was unfortunately assassinated, but he was a good leader. In 1896, the United States was on the verge of becoming a world power, and they had developed a number of capital ships, including the dreadnought, the Maine, that eventually was blown up in Havana Harbor. But through naval power, they projected for the first time ever American power. They defeated Spain in Cuba and helped the Cubans become independent. And they went on to Manila Bay and defeated the Spanish there. So they were projecting their power. The President of the United States was Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland was the first Democrat since before the Civil War to become president. And it's the only president that has two divided terms. He's president number 22 and number 24. One of the interesting points that is connected to today of the 1892 election that brought Cleveland in is that it's the only election that a sitting president was challenged by a former president. And this could happen in 2024, but it happened in 1892. So quite an interesting era for the United States.
No, totally interesting. Jeff Yates, you went through the whole move of moving our corporate headquarters from New York City, the financial district, 100 Church Street, to buying a building in Alexandria, Virginia. I think Bud Wilson, you totally opposed that move, but that's a different story. Why did we move from the financial district to Alexandria and build a building?
Okay, so that was we made the move in 1989. There was a feeling within the executive committee, they were tired of paying rent in New York City for very cramped space. And we actually looked at the New Jersey suburbs. We also looked at Dallas, but the decision was made to move to the Washington area. And at that time, a lot of the insurance companies had previously been located in New York City. They were all moving out to New Jersey and other places. ISO and our technical affairs was a big activity for the association at that time, and ISO was moving out of New York, so it made sense. So we did it with the help of several insurance companies. Interestingly, we thought we had died and gone to heaven because they offered us a 6% mortgages, which today would not be so great, but back in 1989, it was really generous of them, actually. And then, so then the building now is totally paid off. We decided to go to the Washington area. We did look at the issue of consolidating at Capitol Hill and so forth, but it really made sense to do it do part of the office in Alexandria and keep the distinct government affairs office, which is kind of a unique culture, and being up there. And it also allowed the synergies in the staff, and it allowed the association to make the excellent decision to bring Bob on because he was government affairs and he also had association management expertise. So it really, I think it's worked out beautifully, the thing has paid off, which is nice.
Yes, definitely nice. Billy Greenwood from Kentucky. What do you think about that whole office move? You were alive back then, weren't you?
Only slightly. I lived mainly down the street at the Morrison House. But anyway, I can remember taking the bus ride over to look at the location, the site, and it didn't look too good right then. And it took us a while to get a subway over there, which worked out pretty good. And so I'm thankful now as I look at the videos of 9/11 that we weren't at 100 Church Street because that was a disaster area. But anyway, I think it was good. It gave us more of a professional appearance and image. And since that time, there's been many wonderful company, state, and agent meetings there.
So Bob, can I just mention, that's a very interesting point. We were located in New York. This is at 100 Church Street, which was two buildings north of the World Trade Center. That was the building that Giuliani got stuck in during that whole thing, because New York City had some offices there. And that building was closed for 6 months after 9/11. And that was before the internet. And to operate if we had still been there, to operate the association would have been quite a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. John, how's the association positioned for the future? You're the current chairman. You know better than anybody in this room where we are. How are we positioned for the future?
Bob, it's fantastic. I mean, I truly am so proud of this association and in particular our staff in the way we've responded over the last 2 years. We had a strategic plan, and we were working on that strategic plan, and then this little thing came along, right? And you would think all that work would stop because we had to refocus. We had to, as I said before, help our members. But here's what we did instead. We didn't refocus. We had dual focus. We took care of our members. We did all the things that we needed to do, but we still worked that strategic plan that we had developed. We didn't set ourselves back. And I think there's so many organizations that didn't do that, right? So we're right where we're supposed to be in that strategic plan. To me, that's amazing. And it took a lot of work on our staff's part, on our volunteer leaders' parts, honestly. The future, the vision that we have, the places that we need to go with technology, with relationships, with states, with everything we're doing, is just phenomenal to me. And we didn't miss a beat. All those things we're supposed to be doing, all those things that we're looking at, we've become more nimble. than we've ever been. We're acting quicker than we've ever acted on things. Bob, the future's just bright.
Alex, are associations still relevant in this day and age?
Oh, absolutely, Bob. It really is boiled down to this. The association does things for us that we cannot do for ourselves. And it gives us a seat at the table, at many tables with our insurance company partners. It gets us into the room where it happens, the room where it happens. I can break into song if you want me to.
We don't.
There are a number of people here, many people here, who have testified in Congress, and some have testified many times over. That is not because individually we are charming and attractive, and yes, some of us are, yes, but the reality is that they're inviting the association, the collectivity of all of us, and that's where our strength comes from. And yes, absolutely, probably more so than at any other time.
The youngest chairman of the association in our history since 1896 is Spencer Holden. So Spencer is about the future. He was chairman, I think the year you were chairman, Spencer, you were 61 years old, right, as the youngest chairman? But how's the future of this association look to you?
The future's bright, and you taught me very well to deflect questions, just answer any question you want to answer, so I'll just answer any question I want. And that is, the one thing that I learned, to Alex's point, is there's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes by you and Charles and your teams that we don't even know about. The fires that you're putting out that the rank and file agent will never know. That's the value of the association, is the stuff that you're doing that we don't even know about, and the wars never even begin because you stomp on them before they even start.
Thank you. Where's Bill Houston from Colorado? Bill, we're going from the youngest chairman in our history to the oldest former chairman in the room. He's not the oldest living. That's Dick Tubner from Oklahoma, Dick Taylor from Utah, Rick Gustafson from New Hampshire, but you're the oldest one here. So what do you think about all this, Bill?
I think my association with this association is the reason I'm reasonably successful. And as you said so well a few minutes ago, in this business, we can build an estate. And we have built an estate because we own the renewals, and we worked hard, and we got paid well for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you, panel.